Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cocktail Hour Fantasy Football Podcast presented by the Faceoff Sports Network. I am your host, Emerson Beery. Have a very special guest this morning. You may have seen him talking sports with Manny, talking Commanders with Manny. That is Emmanuel Chakuba. How you doing, my friend? Oh, your mic's muted.
Thank you so much for having me.
I tried to jump on there. I was like, unmute his mic, but I couldn't do it. But it's good to have you on, my friend. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Just had a good workout. Wifey made me breakfast, so I'm feeling good, feeling great.
I love it. I appreciate you joining me on these Wednesday morning podcasts. Nobody else, there's hardly anybody who can join me for these weekday morning podcasts. I appreciate that. I have the bartending life, so this is when I like to do my streams, as everybody who joins me knows. Jamie in the chat, my best listener. We have a lot of great listeners on the Face Off Sports Network, but Jamie is the most loyal and my favorite one personally. I'll say that while he's the one in here. We're going to be diving into some Week 3 fantasy football analysis, taking a look at the weeks coming ahead as well. Manny, just to start off with, I love to ask guests about their favorite team, just because you watch more than anybody the Commanders and everything like that. So I think I especially would love your analysis there. The Commanders, after an impressive comeback win against the Broncos, fell a little bit back down to earth this week. What's your feeling on the big Commanders players this year? Sam Howell, Terry McLaurin, what's their outlook on them going forward?
It's like with Sam Howell, he spreads the ball, so the ball is going to go to whoever that's open. So it's like, when do you start Terry? When do you start Jahan? We keep waiting for that Jahan breakout game, and I don't know when it's coming. But the only offensive player that I trust on that team right now is Brian Robinson Jr. And you can see that he gets 3 touchdowns in 3 games, right? So he's the most consistent. He's the only one that I'll trust. But in terms of like actual football, real football, the defense looks good. When they get after the quarterback, that's when they're at their best. But at the same time, you got to go through the growing pains with a young QB who loves to hold the ball, who's a gunslinger, who wants to make plays. So I think when Sam starts to clean those things up, overall, this team could possibly win 10 games this year.
Woo! So you are high on your Commanders still. Okay, I
Sure
like that.
am.
That was something spicy. I was not expecting you to come with that, but I love it. So you still have a lot of faith in Sam Howell. You see like a potential franchise quarterback here.
Yes, I do now. The 2 wins that we've gotten, they're not quality wins. Like Arizona plays tough. Then you have Denver. You were thinking Denver was a good win until you just see Denver give up 70 points. So it's kind of like, okay, I'm more interested in how do they respond versus the Eagles. Then I can make my analysis on this team even more. I can now tell you, okay, this is what I see, because the defense couldn't get to Josh Allen. They struggle with scrambling QBs. But at the end of the day, if Sam Howell just gives us average play with that defense, everybody on that defensive line is hungry. Both the 2 guys that have gotten paid, and then there's 2 guys playing on contract years who could potentially have 10 sacks each. So when you put all that together, that's why I say this team has a chance to get 10 wins.
I like that. The Commanders were a team that I liked this offseason. Eric Bieniemy bringing some more creative play calling to the mix. They're very talented skill position players. I thought a lot hinged on Sam Howell, and I still think a lot does. This team will kind of ride it. That 10 wins will be very dependent on Sam Howell's play. Jamie asking a very popular question that's being kind of talked about this week with Brian Robinson. Do you think they will game script Robinson out if they fall behind? Because he's, I imagine, this past week, he had a low snap percentage, below 40%, I know, and because the Commanders were playing from behind. So you're nodding your head.
He is
I
an
love that.
every down back.
Okay.
Antonio Gibson fumbled, I think, in week 1 and then fumbled again in week 3. He's done.
He did.
He should have been done last year. So with that second fumble, he's really done. And if you look at the touches, Brian Robinson is even catching passes this year. It's not like the fancy Christian McCaffrey routes or the Austin Eckler type routes. This is just simple screen passes to the RB. And when he gets the ball, he runs like an Adrian Peterson, meaning that he runs fearless. I'm not saying he's Adrian Peterson. He runs like an Adrian Peterson. So he's going to get more opportunities in the passing game the more comfortable he gets with this offense. But yes, Brian Robinson Jr. is the 3 down back this year.
I know, like Antonio Gibson got his fair shake last week, ran some routes, but yes, like you said, he did fumble again. I think we've seen in the past Ron Rivera hold that against him. So we will, his playing time, I think, will be very interesting to see with this week. Because you could see Antonio Gibson relegated after that. Because like I said, Ron Rivera does not take fumbling lightly in his system. We'll move on to the show sheet, though. First question I had up here: is CJ Stroud a starter in one quarterbacks leagues against the Steelers and going forward? CJ Stroud has been very impressive so far. Obviously impressive being a relative term. He is number 16 in yards per attempt, only number 24 in QBR, but he just looks very, very comfortable back there. 2 interceptable passes thrown this year. That ranks number 22 in the NFL. So he's being safe with the football too. Number 3 in pass plays per game, the Houston Texans. So they're not, he's not being shielded at all. He's having to go out there and throw it. Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Robert Woods, all being fantasy relevant weeks. They have one of the highest wide receiver usage in the NFL as well. Yeah, what is your thoughts on CJ Stroud? Because he is a very popular waiver wire pickup this week.
Let's just focus on the fantasy portion of it, because this is a fantasy show, right? So
absolutely,
I think that CJ Stroud would be a guy that you can play as a QB1 in one QB leagues. And this is what I say. For one, guys like Joe Burrow are pretty terrible right now. Trevor Lawrence. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Can you really trust Dak Prescott? Can you really trust some of these so-called elite QBs? You have a young QB for the Houston Texans who have revived their entire franchise drafting this guy. This guy is possibly going to be better than Bryce Young. He has 2 wide receivers that are for real this year, and Nico Collins and Tank Dell. And do not sleep on John Mechie. It seems like if you look at how they built their team, they had an offensive line before CJ Stroud got there. And then they continue to add to that offensive line. So he does have time to process. He does have time to throw. And he's really good. He's a really good QB. I would start him this week versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Matter of fact, I'm in a league where I have 3 QBs in a 1 QB league. And CJ Stroud is being one of them. I want to see how he plays versus Pittsburgh. If he plays well, guess what? Somebody else on my roster is getting dropped.
Yeah, CJ Stroud has some of the highest passing volume we've seen in the NFL. The Texans are an improving football team, but in the tough AFC, they are going to be playing from behind a lot as well. The Texans have a bright future, so very positive game scripts for CJ Stroud as well. Obviously, the weapons have taken a huge step forward, and that hasn't even mentioned John Mechie yet, who, as a second-round talent last year, could be rounding into form. I know he had the cancer diagnosis last year, which was horrible, and I'm very happy he's back. So, like I said, it's not a surprise to see he's ramping up and everything. So, very excited about CJ Stroud going forward. Jamie asked if I think this is an easy call for me. CJ Stroud or Kenny Pickett this week?
Stroud.
Yeah, that's easy. I think Stroud. Yeah, you're going with easy. Kenny Pickett just looks like he once again is struggling. I had, Jamie knows from listening to me on the offseason, I was very high on Kenny Pickett this offseason. I just, dating back to what I saw in college, what I saw at the end of last year, I thought at least I was expecting middle tier to average quarterback play. That hasn't come yet. Deontay Johnson suffered an injury. The offensive line is once again very poor, and Matt Canada is still calling plays. So there's a lot go riding against Kenny Pickett.
Najee Harris is terrible. So add that to it.
Well, I'll tell you this. That's another offseason L of mine. I have had a lot of season wins. I was talking up Najee Harris this offseason. I thought he had been given a bad rap for a poor offensive line the first couple of years. Now, I will say this. Najee Harris is not super explosive. He is not. So, Jalen Warren is clearly the more explosive, dynamic athlete, which is maybe better for this offensive line, because the offensive line, I do think Najee Harris could be a productive running back in the right situation in this league, but this Pittsburgh offensive line, just the offensive situation in general. My roommates were laughing last week. We were watching Najee Harris run up to the goal, try to do stuff like run it in the goal line on the 1 and just getting like bounced back 3 yards just when he tried to jump over the line. It's been rough for Najee Harris. I don't think, are you starting, is Najee Harris even a top 24 running back? Are you starting him in any format? Like, how deep does it have to be to start Najee Harris right now?
No. Man, he's an RB3 for me. He's an RB3. He's a flex play in a 4-flex league. 4-flex league is only where I'm gonna use Najee Harris. And also Dameon Pierce is another one. Those are 2 guys that I've faded completely.
Dameon Pierce, this is what I feared for Dameon Pierce is coming to a little bit fruition, except the Texans are better than what I thought. I guess what I feared was the Texans would not have a very good offense, but he's just being like game scripted out. It's a passing attack at CJ Stroud. They've been playing from behind a little bit. and he's just not getting that touchdown. So yeah, Damian Pierce, somebody who's I guess maybe I've been talking myself a little bit more into Damian Pierce, especially in these like resurrection drafts on Underdog. I don't know if you do those at all, but it's just because it's the improving offensive situation for the Texans, but still not somebody I'm super comfortable starting. Jamie, also, Russell Wilson is a top 10 quarterback, so that should tell you how bad the quarterback plays this season. Yeah, I think defenses, I've been talking about it, defenses have cranked up the heat this year. They're playing to like, hey, we're not even going to try to really stop the run anymore. We're going to try to have offenses play less efficient. We're going to bring everybody back, contain these big time Justin Herbert, the Patrick Mahomeses of the world. And yeah, you're not seeing explosive 300 yard outputs anymore. We're not going to see a 5,000 yard passer this season. And I don't even think anybody will come that close. Honestly,
well,
it's just
I don't know.
Tua. I'm sorry, Tua.
I got Tua, and I got
Tua.
Kirk Cousins. If they continue playing the way they're playing from behind, Kirk Cousins can throw up 400 yards a game. When I was thinking about that, I was jostling through the top quarterback name, the very, very top echelon quarterbacks. And then, yes, you're right. The two guys just flinging the football around right now. Kirk Cousins, garbage time right now. Just the Vikings defense. He's just going to be flinging that football. And then, Tua, just the most explosive offense maybe ever created. My goodness. Just Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane, I guess is the new pronunciation of it. Raheem Mostert. I mean, that's a track. You could head to the Olympics next summer with that team. So you are completely right about that. So those are the only two guys really I could see pushing for 5,000 yards. We'll see. A random Facebook user asking, I say random because it doesn't give me the Facebook name. So I do apologize about that, my friend. Goff and Pacheco, or Purdy and Javonte Williams, or Rashad White, PPR rest of season. Goff and Pacheco, or Purdy and Javonte. I don't know if this is like a trade or a start-sit question, Manny. But what is your thoughts on this? Well, maybe it's the package. Maybe it's a trade because there's Goff and Pacheco, and then there's Purdy and Javonte Williams. I think maybe this is a trade. So what's your thoughts on the package potentially between Goff and Pacheco? Then the other side is Purdy and either Javonte Williams or Rashad White. What's your thoughts on that? Okay, gotcha. So I think that Goff is going to be a top 10 quarterback, maybe even higher than top 10 this year. So I do like Jared Goff a lot. I'm out on Pacheco for many different reasons. Purdy is decent. Javonte, I'm out on him. I'm half and half on Rashad White. So when you look at this, I would possibly say Purdy and White over Goff and Pacheco.
Okay, it's very close for me. I would take the slight upgrade and actually Goff and Pacheco only because I see Goff as an upgrade in quarterback. I actually like Pacheco. I think he's looked good this season. I just don't think he's received a lot of opportunities in this Kansas City offense. But as a Chiefs fan, I know Kansas City loves to air it out all September and October. Then when November hits, they start running the football. That's what happens every year. The running back in the Kansas City offense starts picking up a little bit of late season steam. We've seen it with Damian Williams, Jerick McKinnon, Isaiah Pacheco. It happened last year. So I do think Isaiah Pacheco is going to have some nice weeks down the stretch here when the Chiefs do start running the football a little bit more. If they can figure out right tackle, this is a very good offensive line. Juwan Taylor is a mess right now. Go ahead.
So Emerson, I'm going to go ahead and throw a twist to what you just said. So instead of Pacheco being that guy, it's going to be McKinnon or CEH. Okay. You heard it here first.
McKinnon, absolutely. I do agree. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he has his moments. He's a bowling ball. He can gain momentum. What I worry about in Clyde is that he just does not have NFL speed. He can get caught from behind very easily. From defensive linemen, I've seen him get caught from behind. He just takes him a bit to get going. He does have the skills, though. And I would, if an injury were to happen to either McKinnon or Pacheco, I do think Clyde Edwards-Helaire could have some value, but I just don't know if he's a better pass catcher than McKinnon or a better rusher than Isaiah Pacheco.
I understand.
I like that, though. You're bringing in some hot takes today, which I like. Jamie referencing a bet that I have. Goff top 10 might mean you shave your head. I have a points bet, which seemed easy before the season. I thought I was laying the easy an easy bet for myself. I bet that Deshaun Watson would outscore Jared Goff this season in fantasy football, and the loser has to shave their head. I don't know if you're familiar with Justin Bruni, the head guy. He's over at the SGPN Fantasy Football Network that I work at. But yes, it is a head shaving bet.
Oh man!
And where do you think I'm going to have any hair in December? Who do you have between Watson and
You're
Goff?
gonna be looking like me. We're gonna be twins.
Oh boy, you're the first person to just outright say that to me so far. Oh boy,
Yeah,
I'm really scared.
Jared Goff is really good. So you picked Watson, right?
Yes, I did.
Oh yeah, you've lost. I'm sorry. Yeah, you lost.
It does not look good this season, but
all.
I will say this: Deshaun Watson without Nick Chubb is going to have to air. They're going to be airing it out. So that's my one saving grace is Deshaun Watson does not look good, but he's going to be out there no matter what. And he's going to be throwing the football. He has a little rushing upside, so I'm hoping I can squeak by.
But what if he airs it out, but then they get to the goal line, and then you have Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt getting the touchdowns? How does that help your case?
It doesn't. It doesn't help my case, but it's better than Nick Chubb. It is better than Nick Chubb.
That's true. That's true. That is true.
So I mean, of course, was never rooting for an injury. I would love to have Nick Chubb back. I would rather lose my hair and have Nick Chubb play this season than have my hair. But considering this case, I do think it's an upside for Deshaun Watson. Another Facebook user asks Goff versus the Packers Thursday, yuck, or Fields versus Denver, or CJ Stroud versus Pittsburgh. I think I know where you're headed.
Yeah, look, this one's tough because I love Goff a lot, and I know. Look, give me Goff over CJ Stroud. Yeah, give me Goff over CJ Stroud.
I agree. Goff would just slightly rank ahead for me. Jordan Love's been lighting it up. This could, have a little bit more offense than we're used to on a Thursday night game. I know they're usually a little bit rough, but Justin Fields, I just don't think you can start right now. I think, of course, I think he can get it together still without even.
I dropped him. I dropped him yesterday.
You're there?
Yeah, because I had Anthony Richardson, I had Jordan Love, and CJ Stroud. So goodbye Fields. And somebody put in
you have the upside in Anthony Richardson already. Exactly. So in that situation, I can agree.
I drafted both, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah, that I tell you, you take a couple home run swings like that, one of them's bound to pay off for you. I still think Justin Fields can get to quarterback one production this season if he can just it doesn't take a bunch for the passing to come, just a little bit, and then the rushing, and then he's a quarterback one.
Most definitely.
But the long-term outlook is disastrous, of course. But yeah, it's Goff for me over CJ Stroud just by a little bit. Goff on the road is scary, a little bit scarier. Jamie does point that out, but it's a terrific offensive situation in Detroit. So I think that accounts for something too. Drop Fields to pick up Stroud. I think you just did it, right? That's a move you just made.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. I did.
For me, we discussed this exact topic on the SGPN waiver wire, this exact question, drop CJ Stroud or drop Fields for CJ Stroud. I said 2 days ago that I wanted to hold Fields for one more week just to see if he can get it going against this Denver Broncos, which doesn't have a great front seven. We saw him get lit up, but if Fields can't get it going this week, which CJ Stroud, you might be missing
waiver wire pick.
Yeah, you got to put him on waivers, but you might have missed out on CJ Stroud as a result, so it's definitely risky.
Yep.
Possibly Jamie mentioned it, Fields versus the Broncos can possibly have a good game with the rushing upside. I tend to agree, Jamie, against that Broncos front seven. And yeah, it's just been rough. They haven't been calling the run plays. I totally agree with everybody in the chat. I thank you for all the listener questions. We've been answering those. I've only got through one question on the show sheet, so we definitely won't probably get through all 10 questions today, but we've been tackling a bunch of the biggest questions in fantasy football, so that is perfect. Moving on to number 2 here. Did you see enough from Joe Burrow and the Bengals to suggest that they should bounce back against the Tennessee Titans? Joe Burrow we've been talking about Justin Fields having a rough season. It's been a rough season for Joe Burrow. He ranks 32nd in yards per attempt, 31st in true completion percentage, number 20 in QBR. I mean, it's been tough. Joe Burrow, not fully healthy, of course, but you would have thought maybe even a non-healthy Joe Burrow with these offensive weapons could have a little bit more success. What have you seen from the Bengals offense so far?
Man, they are trash, okay? Let me just say it nicely. They are ultra trash, and I want nothing to do with Joe Burrow, But if you have him in dynasty leagues, you have to hold on to him. He's an asset. A lot of you guys traded 3 first-round picks to get this guy in dynasty, right? But with that being said, you hold on to Joe Burrow. I live in Nashville, so I know a lot about the Titans. They are terrible versus the pass. So this bodes well for a Joe Burrow. But will I start him this week? Only if I have to. But some of his other weapons, like, Jamar Chase, he's back. T. Higgins, he's semi-back. And Mixon looks good. So the offense in general looks good. I still don't trust Joe. But if Joe can't get it done versus the Tennessee Titans, you're toast.
I love, I love as a Kansas City Chief fan, I love that verbiage, putting these Cincinnati Bengals a little bit back in their place. They got a little cocky this offseason,
They did.
even after a Super Bowl win, they're a little cocky this offseason still. So I like them running out of steam a little bit, but the offensive situation is just too good. I did have questions about Joe Burrow as a top 5 fantasy quarterback this coming into this year, just because so much has to go right for a pure passing quarterback to finish as a top 5 quarterback. It just has to be perfect every single year. And we're seeing that with Kirk Cousins right now with kind of the negative game script, just flinging the football around 50 times. That's the kind of what it has to take, even with a terrific offensive situation. So I do think Joe Burrow I think he'll get there. I think he's a borderline quarterback 1 this week. I think I had him at 12 or quarterback 12 or 13. And then going forward, he's a top 8, top 9 option for me in 1 quarterback formats, teetering on top 10. I think he'll get there. Just Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, it's too good not to happen for him. And we've seen him start off slow in the past. And so, the Tennessee Titans have been so bad against the pass that I do tend to think that I am probably, depending on who you have, you probably don't have a great waiver wire option. I'm probably starting him this week against the Tennessee Titans.
Man, you're bold, man.
If he can't get it going once again this week, then when can he get it going? You know what I mean?
That's true.
Jamie, I like how the Bengals kept moving Chase all over the field, creating mismatches. Browns winning the division with their elite defense. Oh, I mean, my goodness, that would be out of left field, right? The Browns with Deshaun Watson playing the way he is, that would be shocking. I still think the Ravens and the Bengals, I would slightly still take ahead of the Browns right now, but it's very close. Go ahead.
Do not disrespect the Browns' elite defense now. Like go look at the numbers. I don't know if you've seen the numbers. These guys are like nobody has put up yards on these guys. Nobody puts up points on these guys. I don't even know how this defense is doing it. There's nothing attractive about the defense. Yes, they have Myles Garrett. Yes, they have, Ward. They have a few guys on defense, but it's like there's nothing that's so flashy about the Browns. But numbers-wise, it's hard to get yards on these guys. And maybe that changes this week.
Yeah, but the Browns have been it's legit. And I think that they're, even without Nick Chubb, as shocking as it is, with Deshaun Watson playing the way he is, I still think, yes, they're certainly contenders in this division.
Yeah.
Moving on to our question number 3 here. Is there something wrong with this Philadelphia Eagles passing attack? Because it just has not looked quite the same this season. We've seen, it was Devontae Smith the first couple of weeks. And, we had these concerns a little bit last year. And it just, once again, was kind of a perfect offensive situation in Philadelphia last year. We saw Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown finish as top 12 wide receivers. But this year, Jalen Hurts just 22 in yards per attempt, 26th in pass plays per game when he's out there. He has a QBR of number 26 in the league. This is, we're just seeing that Philadelphia Eagles just not quite the same last year. A.J. Brown had a terrific week 3, but that led to Devontae Smith having a quieter week. What are we seeing here in Philadelphia?
So in Philly, being a Commanders fan, I follow Philly very tough. And having some Jalen Hurts shares and Devontae Smith shares and, A.J. Brown, obviously I have to follow these players. But if you look at the Eagles, best offensive line in football, but at the same time, not only do they pass the ball, they run the ball. And if you look at the play calling, it's almost near even on the season as a total. It's like almost 50-50. So with that being 50-50, you also have to factor in game script. There's going to be game scripts where the Eagles have the lead. And guess what they're going to do? Like that Minnesota game, they ran the ball a million times with Swift, right? And there's going to be also scripts where you have to pass. So you're not going to get games where you have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith going off in the same games. But at the end of the year, you look at it, and guess what? Both guys had 1,000 yards. Yeah. How did that happen? You look at it, oh my gosh, Jalen Hurts is a top 3, top 4 QB. How did that happen? because he's going to get every single goal line rush. So for fantasy wise, everything is going to work out. You just have to focus and deal with the inconsistencies that come with. I needed Devontae Smith last week. He got you nothing. But next week, he's going off for 5 catches for 170 yards. It just happens with that offense. It's nuts, man.
Yeah, I think that it is a little bit of the case. I think we were a little bit spoiled last year, especially with kind of the downturn of the quarterback play a little bit this season. I think factors into it a little bit too, but I think we were a little bit spoiled. I don't think we can expect. It's going to be tough for A.J. Brown to pay off as a top 5 fantasy receiver and Devontae Smith pay off as a top 12 fantasy receiver. It's going to be tough for both those things to happen. They're going to both have their weeks. Dallas Goedert, I mean, is he even startable anymore? Can we start him in? I mean, he might maybe just because how disastrous the tight end position is. It's tough to find anybody out there.
It's tough, man.
I mean, tough. Dallas Goedert has been regarded as like this top 6 dynasty tight. He's been in kind of that pedestal up there, like right below George Kittle and all these guys for a long time. And it just has not happened.
It's not his fault. Quarterback play, and then you got 2 elite receivers on the same team. Like, what else is left? Look at George Kittle. A lot of times he suffers when Ayuk and Debo is healthy. So it's the similar, but yeah, Goddard, I'm trading him or I'm not starting him. I'm out.
Yeah, I think it's time. I've certainly moved. I'm already falling for Sam Laporta. I wish I had Sam Laporta in more dynasty leagues.
Too.
I'm head over heels. I'm just so tired of the tight end position. Kyle Pitts. Just this phenom. This can't you're just looking at everything's perfect. Number 5 in air yards last season, missing 7 games among tight ends. And it's just not working out. I tweeted I was never going to draft a tight end again. I was going to be a blank spot in my fantasy lineup if Kyle Pitts didn't work out this season. And I might just be done.
I don't blame you, man. I took Evan Ingram late, and that's working out.
Evan Ingram was the answer this season. Yes. The answer to tight end, that mid-range tight end was Evan Ingram this year. Everybody else, disaster.
Hey, Hunter Henry is killing it in my tight end premium leagues. And he's a guy that, because I faded tight ends. I went receiver heavy. I faded RBs. And at the end, I got Hunter Henry's, I got the Jerome Fords of the world, I got the Zach Moss of the world. So those teams, when I have those 3 guys, are like 3-0 right now. So you got to fade the RB position. You got to fade the tight end position to a degree, because I mean it's a dice roll.
You never know. The NFL is terrible at drafting these players too. You know what I mean? It's never the first tight end drafted. That's never the answer, as it turns out. I just don't get it. So it's tough. Sam Laporta, already a top 5 dynasty tight end.
Yeah, I was high on Laporta coming in. I was too.
Not this high, but I was high.
I was top 3. It's just that I took the top 2 over him, and my biggest mistake was Mayer over Sam Laporta.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly how I had it. I had it. Sam Laporta 3, Michael Mayer 2, and then Kincaid 1. And and I don't fault myself for the Kincaid pick. I still don't think that can be a good pick. But yes, Michael Mayer, we should, as it turns out,
terrible.
Athleticism really matters for the tight end position. Sam Laporta, freak athlete. Michael Mayer, not so much. Not a great athlete, a little bit more. So moving on here. Outside of Patrick Mahomes or Travis Kelce, are you starting any other Chiefs in week 4? So we've seen it's a little bit tough to predict. We saw all 3 running backs could have been starters in fantasy lineups last week against the Chicago Bears, where they blew up. Sky Moore, him and Rashee Rice are getting kind of the workout there. Rashee Rice's snap count hasn't come full circle yet, but he is getting a lot of looks out there. Got stopped at the 1-yard line this week. Are you comfortable with any other player right now? Running backs, wide receivers, anybody?
Look, I'm not, but with the RB situation being what it is, and it's tough to find an RB right now and off the wire. I just picked up McKinnon in a league where I just dropped Dalvin Cook. I'm almost done. I'm about to drop Najee Harris. Like it's getting to that point. So I picked up McKinnon. I'm gonna try him. Who knows? Maybe he gets 5 receptions. That's all I want. It's 5 receptions, 35 yards, 8 points. That's all I want. So between that and then Sky Moore in 4 flex leagues, that's about it. Who else can you really trust on that offense right now?
Nobody in week 4. Pacheco, I think Pacheco's a flex. I think he's an RB3 this week, maybe a little high, maybe a higher end RB3 for me. But I do think Rashee Rice is a fun waiver wire stash, especially if he's still out there on your waiver wire. I think he's probably still out there in 50% of leagues, I'd probably say. So I think this snap percentage is going to keep increasing. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, he is just running, he's getting cardio right now. He's just running routes and just not catching any passes, as people like to say. That's what he is at this point.
He's running suicides, man.
I keep waiting. Like I always kept arguing. I was like, well, he's just out there. It has to eventually happen for him, right? It's Patrick Mahomes. It just doesn't. It's not going to.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce, Sky Moore, Rashee Rice. I think, we're seeing Patrick Mahomes start leaning more on these players. And I think this eventually will be the players. I think you can drop Kadarius Toney.
Yep.
He's just not. He just can't get out there full time. He just doesn't have the head in the game to wrap around the offense. He's just never going to be a full-time player. He's going to get schemed up a few touches a game when he's healthy.
Right.
And you'll just never know when that's going to happen. So.
Yep. I agree.
Kadarius Toney, a safe drop for me. Another contentious question here. Is Dak Prescott still a starter in one quarterback formats? We've seen the air yards per attempt fall off in these most recent years. We've seen the rushing touchdowns fall off in these most recent years. They are throwing at a very low pace. They're playing a very slow pace right now, and then they're not throwing a bunch either. So are you still starting Dak Prescott next week?
I'm not, and this is why. Let me explain. So the first 2 games, you can't blame Dak. It's not his fault. You're playing bums and you're up 1,000,000 points. So you have to run the ball. You run the ball, cool. We're like, okay, maybe it's game script, blah, blah, blah. You play Arizona. We're talking about the Arizona Cardinals. And you looked terrible. So you had the game script. You had the positive game script. Hey, throw the ball. Let's come back. And you couldn't do it. Now I'm starting to think maybe they don't have a legit number 2, but then Michael Gallup had a random 92-yard game. So then it's like, what's the problem? The offensive line is okay. It's Dak. Dak is the problem. He's the problem. Like, you can't trust him. He's going to have games this season, especially having a CeeDee Lamb, who I still think is a top 3 dynasty wide receiver. As long as you have a CeeDee Lamb, you're going to be relevant, but you have to pick the weeks that he's going to go off. I'm not taking that chance.
I think we've seen, I think, this career arc before with Russell Wilson. Once that rushing upside dissipates just a little bit, doesn't quite have that zing anymore, that playmaking, dynamic playmaking ability. Never was a upper echelon passer to begin with, an elite passer. You just see the arm strength fading a little bit. I think Dak Prescott, somebody who, as we go forward in his career, depending on how much longer he plays, which I think could still be a while, I think in the perfect situations, you'll have years where Dak Prescott flirts with quarterback 1 numbers, kind of maybe like a Kirk Cousins, in the right situations, in perfect offensive situations, maybe in the right game scripts too, where the Cowboys are constantly playing from behind. But you're also just going to have years where he's just kind of floats on that quarterback 1 territory, top 15, really. So, in dynasty leagues, I think he's lost kind of that kind of veneer, that shine a little bit, more of just a borderline quarterback 1 going forward.
Instead of Kirk Cousins, I would say Derek Carr, because if you look at Kirk Cousins, he has consistently been QB1 the last, I don't know how many, 5 years. So I'm not going to give Dak that much credit. Okay. I'm going to say maybe like a Derek Carr, a guy who flirts with QB1 numbers on certain weeks. But at the end of the day, you look at it, he's QB15, QB17, somewhere around that area, because he's going to be a 20 touchdown, 12 to 15 pick kind of guy. That's where it's trending. That's where it's trending. So those guys aren't bad, but it just is what it is. So
Dak Prescott, we'll see. We'll see how much longer that flies in Dallas. Still probably very, a secure dynasty asset the next couple seasons, but going forward, just something to keep an eye on, especially if he doesn't improve quickly. The trade value is certainly going to drop off as well. Over to our next question, and I am very excited about this. How high is Kenneth Walker in your rest of season fantasy football rankings? Because I have been pounding the table all offseason, with the rest of the player profiler faithful that, I work over with, that Kenneth Walker is the man. He was a better running back than Zach Charbonnet. Just look back at college.
Yep.
Kenneth Walker was the best pure rusher in college football. Zach Charbonnet was a volume king, caught a lot of screen passes at UCLA. We acted like Kenneth Walker couldn't catch any passes. He caught He caught 3 passes for over 50 yards last week, making some dynamic plays. I think he's perfect. Kenneth Walker, this offensive line struggling to stay healthy too. He is the player who can make big plays, be dynamic behind this offensive line that's a little bit shaky at the moment. Zach Charbonnet, I never was worried, and I'm so happy that at least finally in week 3, I was vindicated with some efficiency as well. It wasn't Kenneth Walker running 2.5 yards into a cloud of dust. What are your thoughts on Kenneth Walker going forward?
So Kenneth Walker going forward, man, he's going to be amazing. He's going to be a top 5 back the rest of the way. I'm a big Kenneth Walker fan, and I don't know why I let the Charbonnet talk get in my ear a little bit to where I was fading Kenneth Walker in startups unless I had like mad crazy value. Because now I kind of shifted towards going wide receivers over backs anyway. So I don't, I'm not mad about that. But I was hearing from my Dynasty pod with my guys, Sheilor and Razman. Sheilor was just saying, oh, Charbonnet does everything better.
Everybody does. Walker. Everybody was.
And, I don't fault him. I'm not angry with them, but I was still a Kenneth Walker guy. If you go back and look at my draft rankings of backs, I mean, I had Kenneth Walker ranked pretty high, and they told me I was crazy. I have a record of that. They told me I was crazy. I'm glad that in the leagues that I had Kenneth Walker, I didn't trade him away. I kept him. Now, one league I did trade Kenneth Walker away for Trevor Lawrence. That's understandable, but it kind of sucks now. But yeah, I'm all in on Kenneth Walker. I think he's a great back, and he's going to continue to be a great back.
Yes, I just kept Kenneth Walker in my top 5 dynasty fantasy football running backs. People were laughing at me. They're just like, "What are you doing?" I had one guy who, I won't call specific names out on Twitter, but this one guy, very, very cocky guy on Twitter, thinks very high of his own analysis. I posted a trade where
Call him out, man. Call him out.
I posted a trade where I got Kenneth Walker and I gave up DJ Moore and Quentin Johnston this offseason. And I got roasted by a lot of Twitter for that trade. And this guy particularly is just like, are we stupid, everybody? You know what I mean? Like, what is going to happen in here? And I was just like, Kenneth Walker. He was just like, I think, we have a little bet that DJ Moore or Kenneth Walker this season. And then he also told me that Quentin Johnston was going to outscore Kenneth Walker this season. So
what?
So I'm feeling very vindicated. I've already been messaging victory laps.
So I had the 101 in the league, and there's a player, a GM that thinks he's smarter than everybody else. So he sends me Kenneth Walker and Russell Wilson for 101. Mind you, I'm a big Bijan Robinson guy, but you have to think about it. That just shows you where I ranked Kenneth Walker. I had him as a top 5 dynasty back regardless. I said, well, why not get a Kenneth Walker? You get a Russell Wilson to kind of help my QB room. Yeah, go ahead, take Bijan Robinson. And now he's hitting me up. I want Kenneth Walker back. I want Kenneth Walker back. You want Kenneth Walker back? I'm going to need Bijan plus. End of story.
Now that's spicy. I can't go there. I love how much you love Kenneth Walker now, but I can't go there quite yet. Bijan's my RB1 in Dynasty. I'm expecting
but
big
the thing is it's the principle.
Oh, it's the principle. Sticking
He's
it to him.
I like it. He's gonna have to pay. He's gonna have to pay. I'm gonna need Bijan plus. I'm sorry. You had a chance. You had Kenneth Walker. You gave him away. You gave me Russell for free. Now you want him back.
I'm sorry. If you can squeeze Bijan for Kenneth Walker straight up, just do it though. Just get Bijan. Don't think about it too much. Just get Bijan.
I feel you, man.
I'm very excited. I love Kenneth Walker, but Bijan Robinson is my guy as well. I was big on him in redraft leagues coming. I just thought to myself, and I know he had a down week this week, but I just thought to myself, I like looking around, I just think it's Arthur Smith offense. They're just going to run the ball more than anybody in the league. So Bijan Robinson set to pay off at his ADP too. Moving on here, the hot topic of the week. How will this backfield split go between Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane in the coming weeks go? They notably both exploded this weekend at 70-point effort. Devon Achane had one of the best best debuts. I know he had played in the second game, but really one of the best debuts in NFL history. What are your thoughts on this backfield going forward? Because I think it's very, very tough to say.
It's tough to say, and it's a plug and play. It's going to be the hot hand. So it's going to be of the two who gets like the most touches and who maximizes the most of their touches. And then who scores more touchdowns? That's what it's going to all boil down to. And it's going to be hard to predict because that offense is going to put you in position to score. But here's the thing. I have seen outrageous trades happen so far for both. I was just in a league just this morning. A guy traded Raheem Mostert for a 24 first.
Woo!
And I laughed because I was considering giving up a 24 second to get Mostert for the 4 healthy games he's going to have left. So both guys are must sells for me. You want to maximize that and get double the trouble. Get double for your trouble. Why not trade a chain? Like I traded a chain, got Brian Robinson back and Adam Thielen. You might not like that deal, but I think that Brian Robinson is going to be a really good back the rest of the season. Adam Thielen, I'm going to enjoy him until he gets hurt. So with those two players, it's going to be tough, man. It's going to be like a 50-50 split, to be honest. And I really can't tell you who is going to be the guy. But I think that if I had to pick, I'll probably say Mostert just because he's a vet. As long as he stays healthy, he's shown that he's capable when healthy.
Jamie checking in. Oh, someone traded away 8-chain for Chase in my Facebook groups.
Wow.
Oh, that's fun. Jamie has a large Facebook group, and he, he's part of it at least. And yeah, that's funny. You see people post crazy trades in there all the time. That just shows you, hey, it's worth shooting your shot. I always
That's
guess,
what I'm
right?
saying. Like, if you can sell these guys and get maximum value, why not? Now, the Brian Robinson one, yeah, and Thielen, but hey, I was desperate for a wide receiver, so I had to make that move, get me an RB one right now, and then get me a wide receiver one right now. But yeah, try to get as much as you can. You never know. I've had some pretty amazing offers so far for a chain, just not one that I like so far. I have chains in my dynasty leagues.
8-chain. 8-chain or what, 8-chain, I guess is what, yeah, it always takes us a second when people decide to change the pronunciation of their name or, halfway through their rookie season. But it's tough for me. It's really hard. I don't think anybody telling you what's definitively going to happen in this backfield in the coming weeks, I don't think is telling you the truth, or they don't have a lot of reason to back it up. I do think Mostert is going to get the first crack at leading the way here. It's disappointing to fantasy managers. I think, in the first half when it was remotely competitive, it was a lot of Raheem Mostert. I do think Achane now will be getting more work because of that impressive performance, but
Absolutely.
I do think he's more of a borderline RB2 than a must start. Like I have to have him in my fantasy lineup.
Absolutely. Yep.
It's going to, very excited. If you're in dynasty leagues though, this was the perfect. It was Dynasty too, Jamie. Is that what he just said? Oh my God. They traded.
Man.
Oh no.
This is crazy. And this is why I put up players. I put up players on the block after a big game. And this is why. Sometimes you look into your inbox, you wake up in the morning, you look into your inbox, and there's a gift there waiting for you. You hit accept. You laugh all the way to the bank.
I'm against vetoes in dynasty leagues, but that's the case for it right there. My God, that's tough. I mean, that person getting away with Chase I hope the police are at his house. I hope you called the police, Jamie, because that man should be arrested for theft.
Yep.
Whew, man, that's crazy. But like I agreed. I tweeted out yesterday, Puka Nacua, and apparently people still think he's worth it. I said that you should have cashed out on Puka Nacua while you could have for a 2024 first. And then there were a couple people in the comments that were like, I'd still pay a 2024 first. You hope your 2024 first ends up being Puka Nacua. I mean, Puka Nacua, we can bank on him being, the Amon-Ra St. Brown, just this athlete that fell through the cracks. And I think he did fall through the cracks. But he would go much higher in the NFL draft today.
Yep.
But a first round 2024 pick especially if it's a super flex league, which a lot of people are playing in nowadays, that's an easy cash out for me.
So after week 1, I made a trade. I had Devontae Adams. The guy wanted Devontae Adams so bad. I said, give me Puka Nacua, give me Kyron Williams, and give me a 24 first. He did, and I smashed accept.
So you got Devontae Adams in that deal?
No. I sent Devontae Adams away.
You sent Devontae Adams. Okay. So you got Puka.
I got Puka, Kyron Williams in the first because I needed depth, man. My team was top heavy. It's an orphan I took over a year or two of my league, and I'm in win now. But at the same time, it's like I have no assets. I have nothing to really turn this team around. So I made a deal. Folks were like, "Oh man, you're crazy for Devontae Adams." Then I got 50 points out of the 2 guys, and I have a first round pick. So even if it's 112, I'm okay.
I don't hate that. I think especially if if you need young assets on an aging dynasty roster,
Yep.
Devontae Adams, I know he's great,
He's a
but
beast, man.
getting a first, like no
Yep.
matter what happens to Puka, I think you'll feel good about getting a first for
Exactly.
Devontae Adams still, regardless of whether
Right.
Puka, comes out or not. So I
And that
feel
was the
good about
key.
that trade.
That was the key. The first is what sealed it for me.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so yeah, and you can almost trade Puka for another first now. Like I said, you
Exactly.
find the
Yep.
right manager.
Yep.
I took the Puka under bets for 72.5 yards. Jamie says, thinking he'll regress. People thought I was crazy, but it hit by half a yard. It was a lot of
Wow.
garbage. Like he had 30 yards going into the fourth quarter. And then when
Mhm.
it was kind of out of reach, he got that about 40 yards in the fourth quarter there.
Yep.
So Puka, I think he might have had his best couple games of his rookie season already, but I still think this guy, he's a legit NFL player.
Mhm.
And I think he's in the conversation, certainly for being in the top 30 to 35 wide receivers in dynasty leagues. But it's still, that's where we are. You know what I mean? It's not like this guy's on the verge of being the next great NFL wide receiver. I don't think. I
Mhm.
think we temper back
Yeah.
the expectations just a little bit. The hype
It's just a
train.
volume-based guy. What? I'm in. I'm buying Puka everywhere I can buy him, but I'm not buying him for first.
Yeah.
Just all depends on the situation. So I'm not buying for first. But yeah, I am in on Puka. I think he has potential to be a really good receiver in this league based
I
off of
agree.
volume. And the system makes it easier for me to be able to,
Yeah. I
acquire
agree.
him.
I think Puka can be a very good wide receiver in this league. Next up, does Jordan Love have what it takes to be a franchise quarterback and a long-term dynasty asset? He has been very impressive these first couple weeks. One of the highest rated quarterbacks in the NFL.
Mhm.
He's
Yeah.
having a lot of moxie, leadership ability. What's your thoughts on Jordan Love going forward?
Man, Jordan Love, man, coming into the season, I didn't know. So in certain leagues that I had him, I sold him for a first if I can get a first. But it's one of those things where if you have if you have like a good quarterback room, I think I had Justin Herbert and Deshaun Watson at the time, and Baker Mayfield and Brissett. So I said, let me just sell Jordan Love for first, sold him for first, and drafted Quentin Johnston. That was the best that I could find. And then no, I believe it was a first in 2 seconds. Yes, a first in 2 seconds for Jordan Love. So I maximized on that potential. But in the leagues that I did have him in, I was hoping that he can amount to something because I remember when I had Jalen Hurts after his second year, nobody wanted him. I was buying him for like late first, and then look who Jalen Hurts is today. Jordan Love has been one of the best QBs in all of football and dynasty and any format. He's been really good. So I think he has potential. I think each and every week he's going to get better. One thing that I like about him is that he's very smart. He runs the ball well, he passes the ball well, and he makes smart decisions. So far, so good. And he's doing this with a young receiving core and without Christian Watson. Just imagine the potential when Christian Watson comes back. He's doing this with first and second year receiving core, the entire receiving core, tight ends, receivers. So I'm loving what I'm seeing out of Jordan Love. And as this offense grows as a unit, I think he's going to be really, really good. He's definitely somebody. It's possibly too late to go ahead and purchase him now in Dynasty, but it's definitely somebody that I don't mind having on my team.
Number one in adjusted air yards per attempt, number one in the NFL in passing touchdowns, number one in fantasy points per drop back, number 5 in QBR. The only thing, his adjusted true completion percentage is number 33 in the NFL. But like you said, that should improve. He did it last week without Christian Watson or Aaron Jones, arguably his top two targets. Jamie brings up something interesting and something I like to call the counterpunch from defenses. Do you think Love will regress a little bit now since there's tape on him? And I talk about this a lot. When you first come into the NFL, your first few starts, when you're a backup in the NFL and you're just coming in, it almost always seems great right off the bat. A lot of these guys, because the NFL defenses don't know exactly which buttons to push, and but after a little bit, usually a defensive counterpunch comes for you saw Justin Herbert regress a little bit during his sophomore year. Like I said, Patrick Mahomes after a couple years, like I said, defenses come with the counterpunch. They adjust to what you do well, play the perfect defense, make you do other things. So I do think that'll come for Jordan Love eventually, like it does for every quarterback. And it just depends. And you don't know how a quarterback readjusts because it's a lot of that, the mental game. Like, can you learn how to do other things? So it's really tough to say right now. What are your thoughts?
I think he's going to be fine just based off of who he's with. The organization is a solid organization. And if you look at how they're building the team, they're building the team nice, young defensive players. Defense is good. If your defense is good, offensive line is decent. The run game Think about this. Aaron Jones has missed what, 2 games? The Aaron Jones effect is real. And even we know this could be possibly Aaron Jones last year in Green Bay. They will draft somebody similar to Aaron Jones. AJ Dillon sucks. So I think as long as they surround him, continue to surround him with talent and continue to add to his weapons, he'll be fine. Obviously, every player regresses in year 2 of after, you've been seen or whatever. But I think moving forward, he's going to be fine. I think they're going to put enough around this guy to give him all the success he can possibly have.
Jordan Love, I think you have every reason to be excited right now.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you can get, cash out, would you take Justin Fields or Jordan Love right now in a dynasty league?
Love.
Okay, that's where we're at. Easy.
Yeah, easy. And I mean, in the leagues that I do have Fields, I want to try to sell him off. I want like no parts of Fields because I think this is his last year potentially. He can turn it around.
I'm trying to think like what's like the safety, because I have him in a couple leagues and I'm like, that's the line. I'm just like, should I just send off, like, see if people are not going to adjust yet and see off, like, if I can get Jordan Love or like even
do it.
Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff. Should I just like all these guys probably worth more?
Because you want to get Fields off your hands. See, the problem is we trust these players and we keep them and they end up like Zach Wilson. They end up like Trey Lance. So let me think of somebody who's been in the league for a little bit and then just fell off. They're all over. I just can't think of one right now. Russell Wilson. We keep these guys a little bit too long, but I think Russell Wilson will be a QB1 this year based off of what's going on. But yeah, it's like you hold on to these players way too long and they end up becoming nothing on your team. They die on your team. So if you want to maximize a little bit of value that Fields has left, you can say, hey, he's going against Denver. And Denver's trash. And after this game, this price is going to go up for Justin Fields. That should be your pitch. Say,
I'm hoping
the price goes up.
I'm hoping maybe that's what I need to do. Maybe just hope for one big game and then have a great sell. We'll see. I'm not like overly exposed to Justin Fields in Dynasty, but I have him on a couple rosters
you try to sell him before this game because in one eye we see he's going to be great. In the other eye, he sucks. So get rid of him now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah, Justin Fields this year. I left him off the show sheet just because I've been beating him up the first 3 weeks of the season. So I didn't even put him on the show sheet today for the first time. I was like, I've talked about it every show how bad he's been. So I think we can leave it as is today. We'll finish it up with one last question here, and it's the other big injury topic of the week. So everybody in the live chat, if you want to ask a question, fire it away here before we dive into the last one here. With Mike Williams, who is set up to take with Mike Williams out for the season, I should say, who is set on to take on a larger role between Josh Palmer and Quentin Johnston?
That is a great question you asked, Emerson. So let's take a redraft first. In redraft, obviously, it's Palmer. You got to go Palmer in redraft. I mean, because we know who he is. In Quentin Johnston, you can still go him in redraft, but don't put that waiver claim in. Just hope that he cleared waivers. I mean, there's so many wide receivers that are out there, right? So why put in a claim for Quentin Johnston when you can put in a claim for the more proven player? Now, in Dynasty, obviously, it's all about how much you're willing to pay. I was trying to get Quentin Johnston before that game for a second, and the owner almost pulled the trigger. After this injury, oh, man, he's worth a first right now. So I was like, man, I was so close. But the guy was on vacation and on a cruise. Got back to me late. Now he's not doing the deal. So it just all depends on the league. But who do I trust moving forward? It's Palmer, man. We've seen him. We've seen this, he's not the best, but at least we know who he is. Quentin Johnston, we don't know if he's going to take some time to adjust. We don't even know if he's going to fit this offense. I am a semi Quentin Johnston guy, but at the same time, I keep it real. Like if you're not productive, you're not productive. If you're not getting volume, you're not getting volume. So if I have to pick between the two moving forward the rest of the season, I'll probably say Palmer, but long term, Quentin Johnston most definitely.
Quentin Johnston, he's tough. I think he's kind of in that kind of Deebo Samuel type-esque where a lot of his fantasy value comes from what he can do with the ball in his hand. Now, his skills before we get to that point have always, I thought, been a little questionable. Never had the best hands, not the most adept route runner. I think the Chargers thought he was a little bit raw, wanted to bring him along slowly. Obviously, he's going to get fast-tracked now. But yes, I believe if Quentin Johnson is going to have value this season, it's going to have to be scheming him the ball a little bit, getting him in some screen passes, some kind of that Debo Samuel-esque role, just getting him some easy touches, just get the ball in his hands and watch him work.
I
Now,
agree.
I don't think that's going to be as easy as it was at TCU going up against NFL defenders, but obviously Quentin Johnson, this is a positive for his dynasty fantasy football outlook, positive for the rest of the season. If I was in a redraft league, I'd prioritize Palmer only because of the fact I think you might get a buy low window on Johnson in the coming weeks.
Yep.
The long-term play, if you need some upside, you just don't need an immediate starter, though, might be Johnston. I think just you could see that late season surge. I wouldn't buy first. I wouldn't buy for a first in Dynasty League, So I think, obviously, you maybe wait for him to have a quiet week 4, week 5 without Mike Williams. People are like, oh man, he just doesn't have it.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir. I agree. We're saying the same things, just a little differently.
I love it. That's because smart minds think alike, as they say. All right, we'll finish up here with a couple of questions from Facebook. A Facebook user asks, Tutu, Atwell, or Palmer? Josh Palmer. This is a very good question. This is very tough.
Tutu. Simple.
I think for a floor, I agree. For me though, and a lot of upside, I like to shoot for this passing attack in Los Angeles right now. They're the Chargers, with Palmer being the number 2 target. I'm firing him up this week because I'm excited. I'm really excited. I think maybe Puka factors in a little bit more next week. I know Tutu's been very consistent so far. I'm very happy with what I've seen from Tutu, but I'm going with Palmer this week for the upside. And then this guy's has some tough. If it's the same person, sorry, I was telling you earlier, the Facebook, it just gives me Facebook random user. It doesn't give me a specific name. If this is the same person, you came with a couple great questions. Zach Moss or Joe Mixon?
Give me Zach Moss, man.
Yeah,
he's getting too much volume right now. He's a workhorse right now. And I was buying Zach Moss for 24 third before the blow up. And I'm enjoying my Zach Moss shares right now. But yeah, Zach Moss, he's going to be hot. He has potential to be an RB1 this year. I know it sounds crazy. I promise you guys, it sounds crazy. But he's not going to get 30 carries every single game. But if he gets 20, 20 is enough.
What is Jonathan Taylor going to do, though? I'm so confused.
He's never going to play ever again for that franchise. Ever.
All right. I just wonder. It's just like there seems to be so little value to be gained from sitting out, though. Like they're not going to give him extra money next year because he didn't get the wear and tear of 1 year on his contract, or and he wants to accrue, I think, 1 year of if he sits out the entire year, he'll have. I think he'll still be under contract. Somebody would have to explain that to me. I think he's still under contract next year.
Okay, well, with that being said, I think by the trade deadline, he's gone, and still Zach Moss is still gonna be the guy. So
it's very interesting. Like I said, it's just he could end up being traded. I guess that's a landmine from the Miami Dolphins. Still, if you're a Raheem Mostert or Devon Achane owner, Jonathan Taylor's still out there lurking. But man,
he goes to the Chiefs. He goes to the Chiefs.
Oh my God! Don't
get me a second and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm telling you, it could happen. He's gonna
rectifying the mistake.
He's gonna wreck somebody's backfield, and I hope it's not any of my backfields. Hope it's all your backfields, my friend, not mine.
Kansas City would be a good one to wreck. No one was counting too much on any of these guys anyway. That would be a good one. Moving on here, one more here. In redraft PPR, would you trade away Amon-Ra St. Brown and Kyron Williams for CeeDee Lamb and Javonte Williams? Wow, that's a tough one. What's your thoughts?
1,000 times no. I'm out on Javonte. He has not shown us that he can be healthy. That offense looks weird. That offense looks terrible. So why not just stick with Kyron Williams, who's super hot right now? And then Amon-Ra he's consistent. He's consistent, man. You're gonna look at it at the end of the year. Amon-Ra could easily outscore CeeDee Lamb. We don't know what's going on with Dallas. Are they a running team? Are they a run first team? Do they care about scoring points? With all things considered, Amon-Ra could have 115 receptions this year. So
CeeDee Lamb, I love him so much as the player.
Yep.
I think he's fantastic.
This is redraft.
So yeah, I know. Yeah, it's just like I think he's so good, and that's why it's frustrating. It's just this, the passing attack, what's going on with Dak Prescott in the Dallas offense. That's what's concerning here. And like you said, I think Javonte Williams. It's not surprising to see him start off slow, coming back from an ACL injury.
Right.
But it's just like, how long can you wait on that?
It's tough. It's
tough.
Mean,
these are these are two, it's tough for me because these are two players I've talked very highly of in the past, and see Javonte Williams. Kyron Williams, kind of a flash, didn't have as strong of a week 3. I'd have to. That's such an even.
You got to go with your guys. It's like usually you go with your guys, but I mean,
I would have to. I would have to go with. I would have to go with ARSB here, but gosh, it's so close because I love CeeDee Lamb. But I'm gonna have to go with ARSB here just because yes, the Dak Prescott led Dallas offense is that concerning.
Yep.
With that, we'll wrap it up here. Manny, is there anything that you want to shout out that you're working on coming up that you want the listeners to check out?
Absolutely. Check out the YouTube channel, Talking Sports with Manny. Check out the TikTok, TS with Manny, Instagram, TS with Manny, Twitter, TS with Manny. And also, if you like Commanders, check out Talking Commanders with Manny. When you come over to the YouTube channel, Talking Sports with Manny, it's like a buffet, man. I got everything. It's fantasy sports, basketball, NBA. It's a buffet table. Take what you like, throw away what you don't like.
I love it. Yeah, you're one of the more like I said, I wanted to get you back on because you're a very fun person to have on the podcast. You throw out you just tell what you're thinking. It's not boring. It's not a vanilla take, and you have fun doing it too. So definitely check out Manny's podcast. We'll drop that Twitter handle down below. That's Manny Jakuba. Oh, all right. One more. All right. Buzzer beating question here. Dylan Finnick, we'll get that in for you. Would you trade away Tank Dell for Flowers or Rachaad White, considering my roster? Rich, Stroud, Pollard, James Cook, Herbert, Diggs, Ayuk, Hopkins, Dell, and Andrews, it looks like a tight end.
Okay, so really the question is Tank or Flowers? Would you trade away Tank or Flowers for White? Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. If this is redraft, then everything is in play. If it's Dynasty, then I would rather keep Dale and Flowers over White. So with you having really 1.5 running backs, no, okay, well, you got two. I'm sorry. You got Pollard, you got James Cook. Yeah, it's a deal that I would make. I would possibly say trade your least favorite of the two, pick you up Rachaad White, even though I'm half and half on him this season. What do you think, Emerson?
I think he's trading away Tank Dell and either getting Zay Flowers or Rachaad White. So considering that, so I think so he has Tank Dell currently.
Okay.
It's very tough here. I think you keep in a redraft league. I think you ride Tank. I mean, this Baltimore passing attack is a little bit up in the air. There's a lot of targets there. Zay Flowers has been getting there, but I'm riding Tank maybe in this, riding the hot hand here in redraft leagues. The Dynasty, it's clearly Zay Flowers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can make a conversation. I would still.
It's tough.
And Tank Dell or Rachaad White's tough in a Dynasty league. I might even be leaning. Tank Dell certainly has the momentum. But in a redraft league, I am keeping Tank Dell because I think he's going to have a huge part of this offense this year.
Yes, I agree. And who knows? Tank Dell could possibly be that next Tyreek Hill. I'm not saying he is, but this is how it starts. Starts.
He's not the athlete that Tyreek Hill is, but he's certainly he's reinventing him and Tutu Atwell too. Another guy we talked about. Reinventing we can just almost throw size out the window now. You know what I mean? We always hate, we always talk about Jahmyr Gibbs, all these guys. So,
and this is how it starts. You start off as a no-namer. At the end of the year, this guy could have 1,200 yards receiving, could have 4, 5, 7 touchdowns. We don't know. But yeah, I'm definitely riding Tank until the tank is dry.
Yep, exactly. And, I think Zay Flowers has longer-term upside. Like I said, if this was a Dynasty league, I'd certainly take Zay Flowers, but I think you're right. Sometimes a player's first year might be their best year. You know what I mean? And Tank Dell is having a good year so far. I think, like I said, you ride a high volume passing attack in Houston. With that, everybody, thank you, Dylan, for that last question there. Jamie, all the Facebook users I can't see. William, I appreciate y'all checking out the show today. You all have a great day, and we'll be back on Friday with the Cocktail Hour. Thank you so much. We'll see you again soon.